Make-A-Wish recipients and workers. What were some wishes you had to say no to? Story 1. I received a wish when I was 15. At that time, I was madly in love with Harry Styles and of course wanted to use my wish to meet him and spend the day with him. After telling the wish coordinator this, she broke the news to me that if I were to meet him, it would be a year from then, with about 15 other kids for a very brief moment. A hello and a photo. Upon hearing that disappointing news, I changed my wish and instead went to Australia for 10 days with my family and swam in the Great Barrier Reef. Story 2. Usually the wishes we had to say no to were from the kids' family members. There was always some uncle, grandma, cousin, sibling, or parent who wanted to hijack the kid's wish. Story 3. I got a wish as a kid, then survived. The best thing I could think of was to go to Chuck E. Cheese's. I have no idea why I was fixated on that. To the credit of some good peeps, to Chuck E. Cheese's I went. I couldn't be around other people, so they opened it up at night. People deep cleaned it, sterilizing each ball and ball pit. There was dedication there. Then someone who was cleared medically worked it. Don't remember most of it. Was pretty young. Mostly just remember the bits I found exciting. But that rat casino still makes me smile whenever I see one. Morale of story. Never bet against Make-A-Wish when dealing with logistics. Every ball in pit. Story 4. I've been the recipient and later on after my health improved, I volunteered as a wish coordinator. My original wish was to attend the Oscars. That got denied by the Academy as they do not grant wishes. I wound up going to the People's Choice Awards as a VIP. Make-A-Wish flew my family to LA for a week, all expenses paid. They got us a limo for the show, paid for my dress, hair, and makeup. We walked the red carpet and were seated very close to the stage. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The generosity of the volunteers is remarkable. They even had someone greet us at the airport on arrival. It was extremely important to me that my brother and sister were included in my wish because my illness had robbed them of part of their childhoods. I am forever indebted to everyone who made my wish possible. When I turned 18, I decided to volunteer as a wish coordinator to give back to an organization that did so much for me. I met with wish kids and their families. We would always arrive with a gift for all the children in the family based on a little survey they filled out. We'd talk with the child and help define their wish. It's important to determine the child's true wish and make sure that it isn't influenced by parents. The most common wish is to go to Disney. Celebrity meet and greets are the ones that often can be turned down. First, because it is undefined what a meet and greet is. It could be the child literally waving at someone and no one wants that. And second, because not all celebrities grant wishes or can schedule time to meet wish kids. The coolest wish I worked on was a shopping spree for a boy who was confined to his room. He got $7,000 to go buy video games, TVs, a tricked-out lazy boy, etc. for the ultimate gaming setup. Story 5. My son was a Make-A-Wish recipient. He wanted to go to Europe. They were planning it, and his pa's birth father wouldn't allow my kids to get passports. Great father, huh? Son had like 36% chance if survival from brain cancer, and he said no passports. Anyways, his second wish was an RV trip to the Badlands, Yellowstone, and the Rockies. They got us the biggest bus type, think it's A-class, RV they could get. Set everything up for us, gave us itineraries, and off we went. It's such an incredible organization, and luckily, my son had a blast after finally having the okay to go. He is also in remission and doing well, thank God. Make-A-Wish is incredible. Edited to add. They did tell us before any wish was made that they can't buy houses or cars lol. Story 6. A classmate of mine, now passed, got a meet and greet with Sammy Sosa. The understanding from the Make-A-Wish people was that Sammy would sign autographs and sit with the family for a while. Now, this kid was all about Sammy. He had his jerseys, loved Sammy's little leaps after home runs, and EIRC even was big into Pepsi because of Sammy too. When the day came, Sammy showed up late. He didn't respond when the family greeted him. It was described as a sullen silence. Signed a glove and then walked away. My classmates started crying once it was clear Sammy was not going to come back. Right when the parents were about to leave, another baseball player named Corey Patterson saw my classmate, came up, signed everything they had, and talked and joked around with the family for over a half hour. Corey became my classmate's favorite player that day, and I think he lived perhaps a year after that moment. At his funeral, my classmate's picture with Corey was one of the prominent pictures. That moment and day truly meant the world to him. He was around 10-11 IRC. To this day, I'm unsure if someone from Make-A-Wish found Corey or if the moment was as spontaneous as it was described to me, but no matter what, Corey will always have a special place in my heart because of that story. Edit. I, of course, was not there and am not a primary source for Sammy's interactions with my classmate, but I know and trust the family. Edit 2. Wow. I did not expect this post to take off like this, nor did I expect the silver. Shout out to Corey Patterson being amazing. One thing that a couple of Anons have pointed out that I think is worth mentioning is that it seems unlikely that Make-A-Wish would organize a meet and greet with Sammy Sosa, gently suggesting I was misremembering the context. The Anons argued that it's more likely their meet and greet would be with the Cubs team as a whole, and that this changes the context of Sammy's actions if the meet and greet wasn't directly with him. What I do remember is that this story really rocked our tight-knit community, but made us that much more appreciative of Corey Patterson. Story 7. Fun fact. The amount of kids that wish to go to Disney World is so large that Disney built its own resort for them called Give Kids the World, where only families from Make-A-Wish can stay. They have special buses to transport them. Doctors are always on staff, and there's special games and activities at the resort for kids who can't make it to the park that day. I adore Make-A-Wish and everything it's done for kids. It helped send my friend to the Bahamas when she was sick, and she said it was one of the best experiences of her life. Edit. It was mentioned several times below, but Give Kids the World was actually made by Henry Landworth, a Holocaust survivor. Didn't mean to erase this guy's accomplishments, so thanks for everyone who let me know. Story 8. I have experience with Make-A-Wish in the last year due to my son's condition. This was a question I asked, and the response I was given was, they will do anything they can within reason. One kid wanted a swimming pool in his backyard, and they did that. Because of how the process goes with Make-A-Wish, they asked the kid a lot of questions to determine what the child wants and to ensure there isn't any influence from the parents. My wife and I sat with my son while they asked him a lot of questions over about a 1-hour period to determine what he wanted to do. They asked my wife and I to sit there silently while he answered honestly. We are going to go to Legoland and meet Darth Vader sometime in 2019. Story 9. Kid I know got cancer in elementary school. He was always into history and US presidents, so he asked to meet him. They flew his whole family out to DC to meet George W. Bush. Also, he actually spent more time with them than was allotted in his daily planner according to the dad. The kid beat cancer and is still doing okay. Edit. Yeah. After reading a few replies, I typed this out forgetting what the original question was. My bad. Story 10. Couple years ago, I went to Disney at Orlando, and there was a little boy running around wearing a shirt that said, "I'm a Make-A-Wish kid." My friend had to comfort me when I cried, because the toddler's mom and aunt told the pretzel vendor his Make-A-Wish was originally, "Make Mommy Happy." Story 11. I was really lucky to have my Make-A-Wish granted, and I just want to say they really go above and beyond. My mom has always talked about going to Hawaii, and we knew it was pretty unrealistic for our family of 4. I was pretty young when I made my wish, so I didn't even know all that Hawaii had to offer, but I chose to go there for my wish. They put us up in a penthouse suite on Waikiki Beach, and I've never experienced anything more special in my life. Everything and everyone there wanted to make sure my family had an unforgettable time, and we sure did. We were able to forget about the cancer for a little while and feel like a normal family again. Thank you so much, Make-A-Wish and all that contribute. Story 12. When I was in college, I had a good friend named John. We were both in automotive 8 hours a day for 2 years. One day we grabbed sushi on lunch and he casually mentioned at 12 years old, current age 20, he was a recipient of Make-A-Wish. He asked for sushi and just sushi. You could see his eyes light up just telling the story. They set him up with a private lunch at a local sushi bar where he had the entire selection of sushi rolls laid out in front of him with each and every possible condiment, roll side. Not an expensive or grandeur request, but Make-A-Wish went above and beyond. Story 13. When I was a baby until I was 5, I had cancer and got some wishes. My first wish was for a computer. I only wanted a computer because it came with a mouse. Yes, I thought it came with a real mouse. So, obviously it was rejected because you can't have pets when you basically live in a hospital, and my family was broke as anyway, so they couldn't give us a pet. I ended up getting some dope googly eyeglasses and an epic trip to Disney World. It was the only family vacation we ever got to go on. Story 14. I didn't know the kid at all, but he died from cancer his senior year of high school when I was a sophomore. We had an assembly for him. His name was Tyler. His wish was a gift to his best friend. Tyler went to a computer store with his friend and asked him to show him the best computer there. Then Tyler bought the best computer there for his friend using Make-A-Wish donation money, only to die a little later. Such a selfless guy. Edit 1 Readability. Here is a video where his parents explain in more detail about his wish. Edit 2. Tyler met Imagine Dragons. 3 years before his death, they became friends. Imagine Dragons dedicated It's Time to Tyler. Whenever I hear that song, I think of this. It chokes me up every time. Edit 3. Imagine Dragons also created a foundation to help other sick kids. Story 15. My little brother has had 2 heart transplants so far and will probably get another before it's all said and done. His wish was to go to Nintendo. Well, Nintendo Japan doesn't grant wishes, but Nintendo of America does. He stayed in Seattle for a few days and had a day-long tour of Nintendo. Unfortunately, Reggie wasn't in the office that day, but the Treehouse staff let him around all day. This was right before the Switch came out, so he got to play Breath of the Wild before anyone. They gave him a sweet goodie bag and let him go on a shopping spree in the employee store. Story 16. This isn't my personal story, but of my uncle who passed away shortly after I was born. He loved the Terminator so much that he wanted nothing more than to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. Due to having a busy schedule, Arnold's agent had to deny him of his wish a couple of times, was filming for the second Terminator. My uncle was so determined to meet Arnold that he then changed his wish to meeting Maria Shriver, Arnold's wife. Because of his determination, he was allowed on set of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. He got to meet Arnold, Maria, and Arnold's stunt double. My mom still has the pictures and it makes my heart soar. Make-A-Wish is fantastic, and I'm so glad my uncle got to live out his dream. Update. Thank you for everyone who read this and left a reply. My uncle was a great guy, and I wish I could have gotten to know him personally. I called my mom and let her know about this comment and all your responses. She loved her brother more than anything, and hearing so many people got to know one of his stories made her so happy. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad his legacy gets to live on in such a positive way. Story 17. Make-A-Wish. Wish granter here, and I have to say it is the ultimate sadness when we have to stop the process because a non-custodial parent won't sign the paperwork. It's happened far too often. Story 18. I asked for a shotgun because I was into clay shooting. They said no. Went for a rally driving day, they picked my family and I up in a limo. Drove us 2 hours to the place and then I had the whole place to myself and lots of time behind the wheel. It was great. They paid for pro pictures and a meal after for my family and my godparents' family. Even just gave me some spending money. I had a great time. 10 years later, still alive. Story 19. The moment I met the workers, I asked to go to the moon, but was turned down. Tried to compromise with space in general, ended up going to Italy. Not as cool. Story 20. I worked for Make-A-Wish. Junior Genie, as I like to say. We had to say no to wishes all the time. Either the person the kid wanted to meet didn't grant wishes. The place they wanted to go didn't grant wishes. Their wish was ridiculously expensive, prohibitive. Their doctor didn't sign off on the wish as it wasn't a good idea for their health, and so on. For the most part, our volunteers were pretty good at helping kids zero in on that perfect wish. I've helped coordinate some wishes that I was surprised to see were approved. Usually it's trips to far distances with a lot of stops and long stays. It's one thing to go to Japan. It's another to go to Japan for 2 weeks. It's miaf, another me-or. To go to Japan for 2 weeks and go to 10 different attractions. Not all of them give us free tickets. Many don't even give discounts. Most kids had cookie-cutter wishes. Disney World, Paris, Meet the President, etc. Those were my bread and butter. I hate to call them cookie-cutter because I know it's such a precious memory for the kid and their family. Working there was a precious memory for me too. And I enjoyed coordinating everyone's trips. Unusual, frequent, high medical needs, lots of family, what have you. It was such an amazing thing to be a part of. Story 21. My friend, who's a recipient, wanted to go to Australia to the Great Barrier Reef. He loves fish and the oceans and reefs. Anyway, they wouldn't allow him because there weren't the right kind of doctors up there or something like that. They were worried about his health even though he's pretty healthy now. He just has to take medicine every day. He was kind of bummed out, but he went to Florida, so he was happy. We both are going to start taking scuba diving classes together. We are both 14, by the way. Story 22. This doesn't answer your question, but I had cancer when I was 3 and apparently had been approached by Make-A-Wish. Unfortunately, I was only 3 and too young to actually make a reasonable wish, so the wish fell to my parents. They asked for furniture. Furniture. Story 23 word. So when I was 15, I got to make a wish. My uncle really pushed to ask to meet Tiger Woods and play golf with him. I wasn't into that. Neither were my cervical tumors. I was getting better, and I knew I was going to be okay. I told the wish peeps that I wanted to bow out, but they were pushy. Right in front of my mom, I said I wanted to smoke weed with Snoop Dogg and wouldn't accept any other wish. That got shut down. I'm fine and 34 now. Edit. I can't believe this blew up. I swear to God, if I get to smoke with Snoop, I'm gonna post that right here. Thank you all for taking a really bad time in my life that was scary and sad, supporting my teenage rebellion against it, and making me feel like it mattered. Means a lot. Story 24. I'm from MN. When I had leukemia 30 years ago, I remember my wish was to go to the Grand Canyon. My parents straight up vetoed me, and instead the family, 2 sisters, went to Disney World and other Orlando attractions through the Give Kids the World program. It was the right decision, but still. Story 25. I knew a friend who had cancer and overcame it, and he talked about Make-A-Wish. If it's not accepted, you apparently get a first-class trip to Disney World most people can't afford. He said he went to Disney World because he wanted to meet a skater that was in Europe on some tour. Story 26. ITT. A bunch of Make-A-Wish kids that survived. Congrats, BTW. Edit. Guys, I get it. I wasn't saying they were supposed to die. I was congratulating the fact that they lived through something probably way tougher than anything anyone reading this ever has. Go Team Human. Story 27. Just got back from my kids' wish trip. Did all the Orlando parks. It was an amazing experience and hope to be able to help others with their wishes in return. We stayed at Give Kids the World Village. That place is definitely heaven on earth. Just filled with the most amazing people, and my kids were so sad to leave. Story 28. My son chose a Disney cruise. He didn't even hesitate in his pick. Probably because we were on day 1 of a Disney cruise we had been planning for over a year when he took a small tumble in our stateroom and wound up breaking his femur because, unbeknownst to us, his leg was filled with Ewing's sarcoma. This trip he had been looking forward to for so long was destroyed before it even really started. So when it was wish time, he asked for a redo of our cruise. We waited until he had been off of chemo for a couple of months, and we had a wonderful time. We even added days on at Disney World from our DVC timeshare after the cruise. Both the Make-A-Wish folks and the Disney Cruise employees told my son to make sure he wore his Make-A-Wish shirt to the parks when we were there. He did one of the days, and even though that wasn't part of his wish, the Disney cast members all treated him great. It was so nice to see him have such a wonderful trip after a ruined dream vacation and a year of non-stop hospital stays. BTW, he is doing great now. He hit 2 years off chemo this past September. Story 29. Make-A-Wish is a truly incredible organization. When my buddy was battling leukemia, they found a way to get him an autographed picture of Cal Ripken Jr. and paid to have an old car restored that he absolutely loved. RIP buddy. Hope you're still playing outfield in heaven. Story 30. I think we all know by now the comedian who had a kid request he show up to the child's funeral dressed as a giant penis. Kid made it through his illness. Russell Howard. Story 31. I'm told that I was very sarcastic even at a young age. When they told me I could wish for whatever I wanted, I thought I could think of something impossible. A big brick house so the big bad wolf can't blow it down. Make-A-Wish people said they had ran out of bricks granting their last wish. They handed me a catalog of playhouses to choose from. I defiantly flipped immediately to the back and poked one at random before probably returning to my Studio Ghibli movie. And that is the story of how Make-A-Wish built me a 2-story playhouse with heating, air, electricity. I'm so glad they ran out of bricks. Story 32. I worked with a guy who was a Make-A-Wish kid, and he said he wished for a puppy and was denied. It makes sense that they're not going to give live animals to a little kid. Story 33. There was a till a while back about some kid honestly asking Britney Spears to give him a... He was young and the parents were understanding. She wouldn't even come meet him after that and the parents were mad about it. Story 34. Not a recipient, but... Worked at a Hard Rock Cafe. A Wish kid's wish was to see Paul McCartney live, so they came in to eat dinner before his concert down the road from the restaurant. We sat him next to some signed Beatles guitars and sheets of lyrics and the such. As an avid Beatles fan myself, I was able to serve them. I sat and talked with that 6-year-old about the Beatles for a good hour, played all the Beatles songs, and had their music videos playing on the TVs throughout the restaurant. It was super humbling with how excited this kid was to go see Paul and just be able to be outside the hospital for the night. And also super heartbreaking seeing his dad's face the whole dinner. I never seen such pain, and I think about him frequently. Story 35. Obligatory. Not a worker or recipient, but I read a story a while ago that a child was dying and wanted to go hunting before he died. Apparently, Make-A-Wish has a rule where they don't deal with firearms, so a bunch of hunters got together and took him on a hunting trip. Story 36. I'm aware that Ted Nugent started Hunt of a Lifetime to help terminally ill kids hunt after Make-A-Wish started refusing hunts as wishes. Story 37. I got offered a Make-A-Wish when I was 5 years old because I had leukemia. My parents declined their offer because my survival was very, very likely, and they wanted another kid who was less likely to survive to have it. After I was cured, they took me and my twin brother to Disneyland to celebrate using their own money. My parents are wonderful people. Story 38. My brother and I both had wishes. We both chose Disney World. It was the best 2 family vacations we've had. We both thought about meeting celebrities, but those are obviously contingent on the celebrity accepting. Glad we chose something the whole family was able to enjoy. Story 39. My condition prevented international travel, so even though my top wishes were to go to Japan or to the UK to meet J.K. Rowling, those were denied. I ended up doing a shopping spree at Mall of America, which sounds kind of lame, but I grew up poor and had a lot of fun being able to just buy things for myself without worrying. First thing I bought was a new pair of glasses since my old ones were scratched too and too weak anyway. Story 40. My daughter is a wish kid. She wished to go to DC and meet the president, Obama. She did get to go to DC, but didn't get to meet the president, which is just as well since he wasn't in office anymore by the time we went. She still got a great trip, though. We met our representative in his office and got go out on the floor of the house, which is apparently not very common. Story 41. I had cancer as a kid and got a Make-A-Wish granted. I regret it now. I should have had them promise to publish my novel. But I wish to meet the fashion designers Dolce & Gabbana. So they flew me, my mom, dad, and sister to NYC, got us a room at the DoubleTree in Times Square, paid for a manicure and pedicure for me at the department store Henry Bendel. Then drove us to Dolce & Gabbana's offices where I interviewed them about the world of fashion, showed them some of my sketches, received some sketches to take home, and then got to pick a whole outfit for myself off a rack of clothing. It was cool. Story 42. I was too young to remember, but my mom told me how Make-A-Wish gave us a camcorder. Really nice one at that to record the time we had left with my little sister. She had leukemia. My shitty father pawned it. Story 43. I was a Make-A-Wish kid. I asked for a nice laptop and some drawing software, and those guys really hooked it up. I got a nice drawing tablet and The Sims 3 too. It really made treatment a lot easier to deal with. Story 44. One of my nieces is a Make-A-Wish recipient. She had stage 4 rhabdomyosarcoma. They flew her sisters, her dad, and her grandma to Disney World, and they had the time of their lives. She's 6 years cancer-free and still talks about how grateful she was for that trip. She just turned 14, and her younger sister talks about how it was her only airplane ride ever. That organization is amazing and will forever have all of our support. Edit. I would like to add that the Ronald McDonald House Charities is another amazing organization that put my family up for housing in Manhattan during her treatment, over 2 years in the hospital, at a minimal cost. Before that, we were driving 3 hours each way every time she needed chemo. Also, shout out to the Sloan Kettering Oncology Ward for taking care of her and making her feel like a kid while she was going through treatment. Story 45. I got to have mine granted in 1999 when I was 8. I wanted to see my 2 favorite baseball players, Mark McGwire and Chipper Jones, play. Make-A-Wish set up everything. Hotel, tickets to the game for my whole family, and even tickets to Six Flags. Before the first game, they brought us down for batting practice. Got to meet the whole Braves lineup. Didn't meet a single player from the Cardinals, and we were told McGwire specifically declined the request. Braves won that game. I feel karma paid off too. Braves made it to the World Series. Chipper won MVP and is now a Hall of Famer. McGwire would later get marked for using steroids, will not make the Hall of Fame, and Cardinals finished under 500. Story 46. My daughter was granted a wish. She really wanted to meet Taylor Swift and see her in concert, but Taylor was not touring at the time, so we, her parents, kiboshed that wish. She was not healthy enough to enjoy a long concert, and I didn't want her to postpone her wish since we weren't sure if, or how long, she might live. In the end, she chose to go to the SeaWorld Resort in Florida and swim with the dolphins. She ended up being scared to death of them and refused to even go in the water. Make-A-Wish sent us to Universal while we were there too, and she had fun. That was 6 years ago, and she is now in remission. We took her to a Taylor Swift concert this last summer, and I think she enjoyed it way more than she would have 6 years ago. Story 47. A friend of mine's 2 sons have a terrible genetic disease. The older one did Make-A-Wish about 2 years ago. He went to a pro football game. They got to go in the locker room and meet all the players and all that. He died about a year later. The youngest did his to Disney World, and they went this past year. Story 48. Editing comment to remove story because I don't want those sites to use it on their clickbait articles they make money off of and have it go viral. But you can get the idea of what it was from the comments. Story 49. I worked at LaGuardia Airport for a major airline. We always knew when we had a Make-A-Wish family going on a flight, so we could board them early. If the situation permitted, I always gave them a free upgrade to first class. The smiles it brought to their faces was priceless. I just wanted to contribute however I could to help making their experience wonderful. Story 50. I once applied for Make-A-Wish for one of my young, she was 10, patients who had a terminal disease. She really wanted a trip to Disneyland. I rarely see her smile because she is always in pain. But when my specialist told her about the Make-A-Wish program that could grant her her wish, she showed us one of her very rare and sweet smiles. But when I contacted the foundation, they refused her application because her condition was terminal and that they prioritized kids that were ill but not terminal as they were more likely to pull through from their illness with a bit of happiness. Story 51. When I was in high school, I had a classmate who was diagnosed with cancer. She was on the softball team. I think it was softball, though. Might have been soccer or something else. Her wish was for her, along with her team, to meet the U.S. Olympic team. It was too much for Make-A-Wish to cover travel expenses for either team, but they were able to fly in one of the main players on the Olympic team to meet her team. She ended up making a complete recovery, and in fact by then I think she was completely cancer-free. Still, she wanted to do something for her team and not just her. Story 52. Not a response to the question, but y'all ever seen that documentary on the kid that got to go through Chicago fighting criminals and saving people with Batman all day? Story 53. I have a friend that is a mom of 3 small children. She was recently diagnosed with stage 4 terminal colon cancer. I wish they could have a wish as a family. Story 54. My son was granted a wish. He wanted to go to Ireland and see the Northern Lights. He loves nature and was truly blown away. We are from America and have traveled to a bunch of hospitals for specialists. The Ronald McDonald House has brought me to tears also with their awesomeness. FUCF. You don't own us. Story 55. My buddy was dying in high school from cancer and wanted his band to open for Jimmy Eat World, Tenacious D, Weezer, around 2001. He was told everyone was cool with it until it got to Rivers, Weezer singer, and he was told Rivers personally said no and shut the entire thing down. He got to hang with Incubus backstage at a show instead and told me he was sure Incubus had no idea why he was there. Edit. For the people asking how he knew it was Rivers, he told me it was made clear to him by the Make-A-Wish Foundation that it was Rivers' call personally, otherwise I would have said it was Weezer who turned him down as a band. Edit 2. I should mention he survived and is still alive. Also, reading the comments, I'd like to say you shouldn't change your opinion of a celebrity artist because of an unsubstantiated story you read that happened 17 years ago. Not hating, but some of you seem to be jumping back and forth on whether you should still like Weezer, and a few sentences shouldn't drastically change your personal views. I don't hate Rivers, and I know the guy he turned down personally happens, and you move on. The only interview I've ever seen him do was on the Mark Romanek Director's Series DVD, and he didn't have much to say. Who knows what Rivers is really like, but I think it's a stretch to say it does or doesn't sound like something he would do, because he doesn't share much about himself with us. Story 56. Am I the only one reading through these incredibly expensive and generous Make-A-Wish plans and gifts, and wondering why we can't be covering the dying kids' healthcare too? How does a private company get all this money to blow on good times for kids, But we as a country can't find enough money to treat people? Story 57. I was offered a wish by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. My mom said to give it to someone who needed it. I still remember them trying to talk to me while I was in a wheelchair and my mom saying, "She doesn't need it. Give it to someone who does." My mom used to get teary-eyed when she bragged about it to me and strangers. Now that I bring it up to her, she miraculously can't remember it. Story 58. I remember reading that when he was alive, Steve Irwin couldn't meet with Make-A-Wish kids because it made him so sad that he would be crying for weeks afterwards. Story 59. We did the standard Disney World trip. My son only had months to live and we had a small window when he was well enough to go. Bruce was 5, so he didn't really have any big creative ideas. He had only been to Disney World once for a single day, and my husband wasn't able to come. He told the wish grantees that he wanted to show Daddy the giant castle and ride roller coasters with no lines. Even though it seemed like the cookie-cutter wish, my son's Make-A-Wish experience was truly amazing. I still cry thinking about how much that trio meant to him and our entire family. My son was treated like absolute royalty during the entire trip. Volunteers we met at Give Kids the World visit, the resort where we stayed, really connected with him, and even flew in from states away when he was on hospice and for his funeral. I love reading about the amazing and unique experiences that others request. I will definitely be following this post. We became so close with our wish granters. Those people are truly angels in this earth. I am so thankful to everyone involved in Make-A-Wish, donors, volunteers, everyone. This organization made such a huge impact on our lives, and we made memories that our family will cherish forever. Story 60 OP. It seems people didn't read your post. Almost every answer is how the wish came true, not what was denied. I upvote for wholesomeness, but I was expecting some funny stories of kids wanting to see a celebrities in person or something. Story 61. I didn't ask. My friend Kyle did. He asked for $100K in cash to go on a spending spree before he died. The foundation couldn't really fork out that kind of money, so they settled on a trip to Hawaii for him and his family for a few weeks. And $10K in cash. Story 62. The only person I know who got a Make-A-Wish said that the woman who set it up came back a few years later and asked for the cost back because you weren't supposed to survive. Found out she no longer worked for Ma and just wanted to make a quick buck. Story 63. My friend did one when she was 17. She was adopted from Russia and wanted to go see where she was from. Unfortunately, international travel was off the list at that time due to the massive gas prices. They also told her that she couldn't wish to meet Hannah Montana because the wait list for meeting her was already a year and a half out. I was there during the visit. I suggest that New York Fashion Week would be an incredible wish. The representative loved that idea so much, she wrote it down to suggest to others later. Story 64. I did make a wish. I feel like my wish was super lame. I had to be 9 or 10 and I wished for a laptop. It was before laptops were mainstream, I guess. But my family was also pretty impoverished, so it was a big deal to me, being the only kid with a computer at home. They didn't get me a laptop, but a desktop instead. They also bought me Adobe Photoshop and a game I can't remember. It had a DVD player, when DVDs were barely coming out. It was cool and I was able to get schoolwork done. I used it for a long time. My sister had a wish too. She was like 5, and got a limo ride to Toys R Us. Should have gone to Disney though. Still haven't gone yet. Also hi to all the fellow cancer kids of the past.